It's a good golf swing. Okay. Very nice.
I'm going to compare your swing to Grant Wade, who was a tour player during the 90s, but Tiger Woods considered him having one of the best swings in golf. He's now a tour instructor for several of the top pros. Grant was selected by the TWU Biomechanics Lab to go through their screening process and analysis so they could document the major fundamentals of a good golf swing. I'm going to begin at the impact position because everything the ball does, how far it goes, how high it goes, how much it spins and curves, is a direct response to the laws of physics you deliver to the club at impact. The golf swing is a circle that goes down, then reaches its lowest point, and then goes back up again. To hit the ball solid, you must hit the ball before you hit the ground. You must have the low point of the swing arc in front of the golf ball. The pros do two things in order to position the low point in front of the golf ball. At impact, the average pro will have 85% of their weight on top of their left foot. I've drawn a red line straight up from the left ankle, and you can see that red line passing through the center of Grant's body, right through his belt buckle. Think of your golf swing as a giant hula hoop, and where that hula hoop is touching the ground is the low point of your arc. And that hula hoop will follow the center of your body mass. And so if you move your body on top of that left foot, you're also moving the low point in front of the golf ball. As we look at your red lines, you're more evenly balanced. In fact, you may have more weight on your right foot than your left foot. The second thing the pros do is they make sure that they have shaft lean. They put their hands in front of the golf ball at the moment of impact, so the shaft is leaning to the target. When Grant hits the ball, his hands are in front of the golf ball. In fact, he creates a straight line from his left shoulder right through the shaft. You have released the club early and flipped the club under your hand, cupping the back of that left wrist. So the two key things you need to work on in order to hit the ball more consistently solid is to arrive at impact with more weight on your left side and delay the hit so that you don't cause that early release. The early release also moves the low point of your swing arc behind the golf ball. Now, I'm not suggesting that you have to look like Grant or try to perform exactly the way the pros do right now, but every movement you can make to get closer to the pros, the better off you'll be. Now let's look at some of the positions prior to impact to see which ones might be influencing this less than optimal impact position. Everything you do prior to impact, the starting setup, the backswing, the downswing, has the sole purpose of arriving at a fundamentally sound impact position. First, let's look at the setup, what we call the one position. As we compare your setup to Grant, we see a couple of differences. Grant has more weight on his left foot than he does his right foot, whereas you have more weight on your right foot than your left foot, so you're kind of leaning backwards. Grant is almost in a little mini impact position. He knows he has to have more weight on his left foot at impact, and so he starts out with a little bit more weight at the address position. One of the main reasons you don't have sufficient weight on your left foot at impact is because you start out with so much weight on your back foot. So one of the changes you would have to make in your setup in order to be a better ball striker, in order to hit the ball more consistently solid, is to change your setup so that you have more weight on your left foot than your right, maybe 55% of your weight on your left foot. Now, one of the things I do like about your setup is your extension in both arms. I like that very much. You have your elbows close together. That is exactly the way you want to set your arms for a good golf swing. And the last difference I'll comment in this first part is the left foot. Grant will flare that left foot out a little bit, and you can see how I've drawn that blue arrow. When you flare the left foot, it makes it easier to shift your weight to the left side. That ankle will be much more comfortable if it's flexing at the front of the ankle and not the side of the ankle. You start out with the foot not flared. Your left foot's a little bit more square, but you do something interesting with that left foot during the golf swing. As you take the club back, you put more weight on your right foot, which allows you to then reshift the position of your left foot. And so when you get to impact, you basically are now in a similar flared position that Grant is in. I'm now going to start the backswing and stop it at the 3 position. This is when the left arm is parallel to the ground. Let's first focus on how steady Grant keeps his head during the backswing. And also I want you to pay attention to how he keeps his left foot flat on the ground. So as he goes back, he's simply going to rotate, and that's the 3 position. He's kept his weight on his left foot, and he's kept his head in the center of that circle. I've drawn red arrows from Grant's ankles to his knees, and you can see how both of those arrows are slanted towards the target. He is shifting his weight to the left, which places the low point of his swing arc in front of the golf ball, allowing him to hit the ball first and the ground second. As you go back, you sway to the right. Now your left arm is parallel to the ground, but you can see how your front foot has come off the edge. It's no longer flat on the ground like it started. Also, the arrows from your ankles to knees are pointing away from the target. So you have swayed to the right. So that moved your body mass to the right. That moved your swing hula hoop to the right. So you have positioned your low point way behind the golf ball. And so you're not in any kind of a position to hit down on that golf ball. You're going to bottom out and hit the ground before you get to the golf ball, and you'll either hit it fat or thin if you don't get enough weight back to your left side. So Grant's in a position to hit down on that golf ball because he kept his weight in front of the golf ball. Now what I do like about your backswing is how you have kept your left arm very straight, and you have hinged your wrist to get that shaft of the club at right angles, or almost right angles, to the left arm. And that is an important power fundamental, is to hinge your wrist in the backswing, and you've done a very good job of that. Now let's take Grant up to the top of the backswing. He continues a stable turn around the left side and starts to drive towards the target. I'm going to stop it at the 9th position. This is when the right arm is parallel to the ground. Both arms are straight, elbows close to each other, wrists are crossed, and you can see the left hand underneath the right hand. As he continues to shift more weight to the left side, that right foot is coming off the ground. His eyes are still down to the ground, and he has maintained the spine angle that he started with. He has not lifted up. As you go back, you're going to see that left foot reposition itself. And then as you come back down, at impact, you can see how your feet are flat-footed and you have stalled your hands and flipped the club head past. Then you take it to the 9th position. I really like your arms in the 9th position. You have your arms extended, your elbows are close to each other, and like Grant, you have crisscrossed your wrist and have your left hand under your right hand. Very good. Even though you didn't have your weight on your left side at impact, post-impact, you do finish the drive with your lower body more on that left side. And unfortunately, the ball's already left the club, and so you didn't get the benefit of that weight shift prior to impact. I've drawn a circle around your head and straight down to the ground, and you can see where Grant does have a little arch in his back, but his head is positioned more between his feet, whereas you have an extreme arch and your head is on top of your back foot. At this point in your swing, your left foot has positioned itself almost exactly in the same position that Grant is in. It is natural for your left foot to want to be in this position, but since you started in a square position, it will move it into that position during the swing. My recommendation is that you position that foot at the beginning of the swing so you won't have that adjustment made during the motion of your golf swing. As Grant finishes the swing, he'll finish tall on his left side, and all of his body mass is sitting right on top of the center of his left ankle. So he's basically posted up on that left leg. You have a tendency to hang back and you don't fully extend the left leg. You don't stand tall and get an extension so that your left hip is supporting your body weight. You put a lot of pressure in your left knee. The pros don't want to balance themselves at the end in the knee. They want to be in the stronger hip joint. So one of my recommendations is for you to learn how to post up a little bit taller and more forward so that your head is more on top of your left foot at the end of the swing. One of the things that Grant does that helps him is he lets his elbows fold at the finishing of the swing. All the pros will fold their arms at the end of the golf swing, and you tend to keep both arms very straight. This is video I took of Tiger at the 2012 US Open. I had the privilege of being able to get inside the ropes with my camera and videotape all the pros. Tiger sets up with a nice extension in both arms. His hands are slightly in front of the golf ball. Let's take him to the 3 position. Here he has a nice extension in that left arm. You can see that he's kept this knee inside that foot. His left hip is still right on top of his left foot. He has not swayed. When he gets to the top, that head has stayed right where it started. You'll see him start to drive. Watch that left hip drive. Watch his legs drive. Push off that back foot. Good full extension, hands in front of his left thigh. Nice straight, elbows close to each other. When he gets to the 9th position, his left hand is underneath the right hand, elbows close to each other. So the position you saw Grant in is the position you'll see all pros in. Nice tall finish. In this complete swing analysis, I have covered some of the missing fundamentals in your swing that contribute to some of the ball flight errors that is costing you strokes. It is important to only work on a few at a time. In fact, it would be impossible to work on all at once. My recommendation is to begin with a little better setup with your left foot flared and to set up with your hips slightly shifted to the left so you feel you have about 55% of your weight on your left side. Next, work on just the initial takeaway and learn how to keep your weight on your left side as you turn to the right without swaying to the right. Try to keep your right knee inside the right foot. Don't let it sway to the outside. That would be your one backswing thought, and I would only want you to working on one backswing thought. For your downswing thought, I would like for you to focus on the finish of your swing. Try to finish in a tall pose with your weight on a more extended left leg, and your back would have less arch. And let your elbows fold gently in the end. I don't know the history behind your brace on your left knee, and it's an injury that may be preventing you from doing this work, or it may actually prevent future damage to the knee. I would need to know more. These changes would not be easy, and right now you are enjoying golf with your current swing, and after all, isn't that the main goal of playing this great and difficult game? Playing the game is always more fun than working on your game, and working on your game requires a change in time management, which is not always possible. But if you were able to be successful with these changes, your ball striking would improve. If you wanted me to show you some drills so you can manage the work you need to do, let me know and we can do a follow-up session. You have a good foundation of fundamentals to build on, and if these changes could be added, you would have a more dynamic swing with more power and less effort.